talking about how to avoid a bozo. This message was originally given to me in a college dorm room on another dateless night. I actually went to a Christian college because I figured, hey, Christian? All the dates for Christians? That was a joke. But anyways, on a Friday night in a college dorm room, 2 of my outfits were on dates. I had great clothes. People borrowed them all the time. I mean, hey, can I borrow that cute little beige thing? In fact, I have a friend that got engaged in one of my outfits, and on her first anniversary, her husband goes, why don't you wear that cute little lace thing you wear, that little beige thing? She's like, yeah. Let me call Jackie. He's like, why do you have to call Jackie? You got to get permission what you're wearing. No, it was hers. But anyways, my clothes were very busy in college, and I had a lot of dates. But what was amazing to me is I just didn't get how these guys could keep passing me up. Like, what is wrong with this group? Well, one night in the dorm, I'm not into feeling sorry for myself. Like, some personalities really get a lot of mileage out of that. I'm more into, okay, God, what's the deal? So I'm sitting in my dorm room, and I'm thinking, Lord, I don't want to waste this time. I don't want to feel sorry for myself. I need your comfort. I need a word from you, so I don't have to have these pity parties on Friday nights, Saturdays, Sunday afternoons, all those times I should have been dating. Okay, so I'm sitting in my dorm room, and I know the best thing to do when you want comfort, and it's not go to the mall, overeat, or call a friend, is to open God's Word. And in the precious little book of Ruth, God gave me an outline that I have been teaching since probably, he gave it to me in 1972. And it had to do with waiting for God's best. And why this outline was so important, my background prepared me to pick a loser. My upbringing, my family example, the context of everybody I ran with, my lover was destined to be a loser. I'm sorry. That was the prognosis. And I had no idea that long ago that God was giving me an outline to protect me from settling for less than God's best. So we're going to look at the outline this morning. But what's neat about it is I didn't realize what a bozo alert it was. I had no idea that this thing was going to keep me from marrying a bozo. Because the key character, the key guy in the story is Boaz. And so it's like, cool, change one letter, we go from a loser to a winner. Bozo, Boaz. I mean, it's so cool. Now, I want to tell you right off the bat, the first point, those of you who love to take notes, little outline people, I'm one of those. Okay, number 1, I'm going to show you how to get a bozo. Okay, now point 1. This is how he can be found. I need everybody to look at me first. This is how you find a bozo. Everybody, close your eyes. Now open them. That's how easy it is. Close your eyes. Open them. That's how you find a bozo. It's that easy. Another thing for people who are past 21, this is another easy way to find a bozo. Got a watch on? Look at it. Okay, tap your foot. Okay, God, where is he? I graduated from college. I didn't get my MRS degree. Where is he? Where is he? That's another way to get a bozo. Okay, we know that. All right, so the first point is a bozo can be found by sight. Checking out where the men are, go to the local singles groups where the most guys hang out. It's amazing how we maneuver to get what we want, and then after we get it, we're like, ooh, how did I get this? Okay. And I'm going to take you through the book of Ruth. In chapter 1, you have 3 women who have been in love and now lost their love. We have Naomi, Orpah, and Ruth. And Orpah did the trick that we just did. Close your eyes. Look. Where is he? It actually is in the scripture. Some of you are going, where does she get this material? After Naomi, they were in Moab, and Naomi was ready to go back to her hometown because God had blessed the people with prosperity. And Naomi said, now you girls, you go on home, you go back to your households because that's where you'll probably find another man. Go home. So she told them to go to the most logical place to find a man, which all of us know those sites. All right, and what's so amazing is the most illogical places where God will give you the best. But anyway, she says this, go back, each of you, to your mother's home. May the Lord grant that each of you will find rest. Not with a bozo, you don't find rest. No, you don't. You find just the opposite. You will find rest in the home of another husband. Now, what's interesting, Orpah gives her a big old kiss and says goodbye. And she takes off and she goes to the logical, using sight, to go where she could probably find a man. Ruth made the opposite choice. She went to an unlikely place because she is a Moabitess, and a true Orthodox Jew would not marry a Moabitess. If he's right with God, he wouldn't have anything to do with her. But listen, this is so interesting. The mother-in-law turns to her, Naomi says, now Ruth, look at your sister-in-law. Says she's going back to her people. Now, you go now too. You go towards what's logical. And this is how you find a Boaz. You can write this down. A Boaz can be found by faith. Because her mother-in-law even went into this, it's kind of a bizarre presentation. When I read it, I thought, what is this woman talking about? She kept saying, don't follow me. Because right now, even if I got pregnant, are you going to wait till my son grows up and then you can marry him like you married my other son? You know, it's like, you know, she was kind of trying to talk her out of coming with her because Naomi knew that somebody in her town probably wouldn't want someone from Moab. But we have a moment of conversion, which cracks me up when people use them in weddings, because this was this really cool line that couples say to each other. It's a passage between two widows talking. Listen to this. Ruth chapter 1, verse 16. This is what Ruth says. Don't urge me to leave you or turn back from you. Haven't you heard that in weddings? These are two widows talking. All right. Where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and this is the key. Your God will be my God. And that's the moment where we see Ruth turning from the gods of Moab to the true God. So by faith, she's saying, I know there's no prospects with you, but I want the God that you love so much. I'm going with you. And I'm going to a place that there may be very few prospects, the no-hope situations that some of us actually attend churches like that, where every guy that you know are like, oh. But anyways, they are actually in churches. One more aspect of this thing about finding him by faith, you know, like a lot of people go, well, how are you proving that? Okay, she went to a hopeless situation for a person from Moab, because the Moabites were not favorite people, because they were not very nice to Israel when they were coming towards the promised land. So they kind of are like a little bit of problem there. But there's another wonderful passage in the 2nd chapter, verse 3. When they get to town, Ruth says to Naomi, well, we're going to have to eat. And since welfare, they have a welfare system which was built into the law, the Levirate, in Deuteronomy. It talks about if you're a widow or if you're poor, you're allowed to go during the harvest and glean leftovers. So she says, I'm heading for leftovers. You know, and she wasn't too proud to just get out there and work. Some of you are going, we didn't get a choice at this, Jackie. We have to work. We're single. I mean, we didn't get a boat. But anyway, so she goes out to work, and what is a wonderful passage, Ruth 2, verse 3. So she went out and began in the fields behind the harvesters. As it turned out, I'm going to show you what that means in Hebrew. As it turned out, she found herself working in the field belonging to Boaz. Now, this is very important. Boaz owned a lot of land. So it's not like this manipulative, single, desperate woman that goes, I know where his land is. I know where he hangs out. That's where I'm going. When I was in college, there were more girls standing in hallways by classes that I know they didn't take. I never could figure that out until I realized, oh, there comes Lyle. He comes walking out, and all the girls are like, take a breath. They just happen. Oh, hi, Lyle. I'm like, he probably thinking, how are these girls always outside my room? You know, because they just happen to be there. Well, in Hebrew, in the King James Version, it says she happened on the part of the field. In Hebrew means her chanced upon. So that means she had one shot. You roll it, and that's where you land. And she had one shot to be in the right place at the right time. Because as she got there and was working that day, it says Boaz happened to come to that part of the field. Now some of you are going, well, of course he'd come, it's his field. Wait a minute, this is harvest time. He's got so many fields that he's harvesting that it wasn't a chance meeting. It was a divine moment. But see, those don't come to girls who are doing the, you know, you can't see divine when your head's down like this. You have to be looking up, trusting in the one who loves you so much. He proved it through Jesus. Okay, so for some of you are going, okay, this faith thing, okay, I'm a Christian, I love Jesus, I got that part right. What is amazing to me about women, it never ceases to amaze me, is the most important decision you ever make in your life is in relation to Jesus Christ and spending eternity with him. That's your first love. The second most important decision you make in your life is who's going to be your second love. And yet we kind of casually get ourselves into checking the arena out, and I think I want that one. I like that. Tall, dark, and handsome. Well, not anybody in this group would go for just simply that. So now I want to get into another characteristic about a bozo. Okay, so you can find a bozo by just close your eyes, now open them. There are plenty of them. Fort Lauderdale's probably packed with them. Anyways, never mind. Okay, second point, those who would like to have the second point. I'm going to give you a quality about a bozo. Now we're going to get into, you can find them by sight, but I'm going to tell you some qualities about them. They're dead giveaways. The minute you see one of these qualities, an alarm should go off. Bozo, bozo, get big beaming loser, loser. When you see this. Now I'm going to do a contrast. Now I'm going to do a contrast for you. I'm going to show you bozo, and I'm going to show the opposite in Boaz. Throughout the rest of this particular portion, we're going to go bozo and the contrast Boaz, all right? A bozo, you can write this down. A bozo will exploit, E-X-P-L-O-I-T, for those who love to spell things right. A bozo will exploit a woman sexually. Watch the contrast. A Boaz will protect a woman sexually. Now, let me show you how this works. This is so cool. I'm going to give you a passage in 2 Samuel chapter 13. 2 Samuel chapter 13. Now, this is a classic example of a bozo, and what's very important about this, and some of you women in here need to hear this statement. This guy was the firstborn son of a king. And being a king's son doesn't keep you from being a bozo. Remember that. Amnon, David's firstborn. It says in the first and second verse of 2 Samuel 13. In the course of time, Amnon, son of David, key phrase, fell in love with Tamar. Bottom line, nobody falls into love. You don't fall into love, okay? There's no such thing as falling into love. So I looked that up in Hebrew. The word love in that verse means to have affection for sexually. Okay? So when next time you think you've fallen, all you've admitted is, boy, I must be a little desperate lately. That lust thing. Okay? All right. Now he said he fell in love with Tamar. Now watch what happened in the next verse. Amnon became frustrated to the point of illness. Now have you ever heard when people say they're so much in love that they've been sick? That's not a good sign. Now being excited about something and getting a little stomach ache when you're real excited, that's normal. I've had that for the past 6 days about this tank. All right, but listen to this. It says, Amnon became frustrated to the point of illness on account of his sister Tamar because it seemed impossible to do anything to her. Because, see, she was a virgin, and that aggravated him. Well, what is interesting about that little bozo incident is he's telling a friend, his friend of his says, boy, you look kind of down in the dumps. He says, oh, it's Tamar. I'm so in love with her. It kills me, that statement. Well, he goes, well, why don't you trick her to come care for you, like fake being sick? And most of you know the story, but so she comes obediently to cook. He's a brother, a half-brother, and she's cooking for him, and all of a sudden he says, tell the servants to leave. That's a good sign right there. Okay? Just start watching when they suddenly want to be alone. Bozos love to be alone, because that's the only place you can exploit a woman. You have to be alone. Let's go back to your place. Okay. We won't go any further than that. We'll discuss that one later. Okay. What's interesting is once she brought him the food, he says, tell the servants to go away and you come close to my bed. Oh, that's a dead giveaway. All right. Well, what's interesting about this, he said he loved her in verses 1 and 2 and in his little confession with his friend. But what's interesting is once he gets her over there and he goes to grab her and say, come and lie with me. And she said, what? Are you crazy? Where could I ever get rid of the shame? Anybody that's ever been date raped, the shame level is incredible. And you need to let Jesus heal that because he can. He says that in Isaiah 54:4. But anyways, where can I go with the shame? And she said, and don't do it because you'll be like one of the fools of Israel. And I looked that word up. Fools of Israel means stupidly wicked. Not just wicked, stupid wicked. You rape me, you're stupid wicked. I like that. I see that. Why do we translate these things as they say? See, I think people are scared to death that it was rape. I said something about rape one time. They go, oh, Jackie, what do you mean rape? It is in 2 Samuel 13. Well, wait a minute. Read it. It's rape. Okay, so he raped her. Now, what's interesting about rape in this point and this exploiting of a woman sexually? Look at verse 15. This is what a man feels after he gets what he wants. He's so in love with you. Watch. Then Amnon hated her with an intense hatred. In fact, he hated her more than he had loved her. What happened? Guilt has a way of transforming whatever you were feeling before the moment, it ruins it afterwards. You know, in the moment of passion, you're not feeling the guilt. But stop. He was the king's son. He knew better. And his conscience being guilty. You know when you're guilty, you know how you feel about the one that helped you feel guilty? You don't like him anymore. Unless your conscience is seared. Now watch the opposite in Boaz. What a classic. He's a classic. I was telling Jesus yesterday, boy, you picked a good one, didn't you? And he said, yeah, well, he was a symbol of me. And I thought, well, of course he'd be a good one. He's a symbol of you. Now listen to what he does. When Boaz gets to the field that day in chapter 2, he says, I love the way the men greet each other. Blessings on you, blessings on you. Do you ever hear that in guys? These men were saying, may God bless you today. I was so tender. But anyways, he said, who is the young woman that is over there? And they said, she's the Moabitess. They always called her a Moabitess. Why couldn't they just say she's Ruth? But Jesus reminded me that just showed the miracle of the honor her life received because she was a Moabite. She's the Moabitess that came with Naomi, and she's been working here all day, and she hadn't even taken a break. And guys were bragging on how hard she was working. This is his response. He calls her over, and before she could even get there, he had done something to take care of her and protect her sexually. Listen what he says to her. So precious. Ruth 2:9. Watch the field where the men are harvesting and follow along after the girls, because he had different people that worked for him. He said, I have told the men not to touch you. Aww. And whenever you are thirsty, go and get a drink from the water jars the men have filled. Right off the bat, that man's first response to that woman was to protect her sexually. Because the reason Boaz had to say, I warned the men not to touch you, is that in those days, and we're going to all be very surprised by this, in those days when women were coming to get a handout, a free meal, the guys were like, hey, free meal, free meal. They were taking advantage of the poor and the widows who came to their fields. It was not uncommon for laborers to think that they should get a handout. And let me tell you, just because he bought you dinner and paid for a movie at night doesn't mean he gets that back too. See, this is what girls do. What am I supposed to give him when it's done? Thank you. You know, and we think we owe him something because he paid for the meal. If he's that way, hey, let me pay for my own, sweetheart. Okay. Now, what is interesting is, in those days, they took advantage. In fact, later on in the chapter, when Naomi found out where she was and how Boaz said, stay in my field and only glean here, she said, that is good. For who would know what harm would come to you? And what's neat about that, Naomi knew that when Ruth went out that day, her daughter-in-law, well, not anymore, her son's dead, but her daughter-in-law would possibly be treated inappropriately for working. Isn't that sad? It's not hard enough to have to be single and work. But then have people take advantage of you? Hello? And what a great God. I mean, here's this little girl out there working away, and his first instinct is, get this guy who wants to take care of her. And what's really sweet, a little bonus here, Boaz not only protected her sexually, he makes a comment to the guys. This is so sweet. He said, even if she gathers among the sheaves, she's not allowed to gather there. She only can get what falls in the ground. You're not allowed to pull out of bundles for the ones that are free. Even if she gathers among the sheaves, don't embarrass her. I mean, he was protecting her emotionally. He was so concerned that one of the guys were going, you're in the wrong spot, babe. You don't pick up there. Over here. I mean, and you know how men can, some bozos talk like that. Make you feel, you were originally this tall. Suddenly you're feeling very short. So what was neat is that right off the bat, and he even told the guys, he says this, not only don't embarrass her, rather pull out some stalks from your bundle, like leave some extras for her. So here he is. I just love this. Okay, right, get this in your head right now. Beep, beep, beep. A Boaz will, his immediate response to you as a woman is to protect you sexually, want to provide for you, because he had a little extra thrown out there so she could take home a full apron, but he also cares about your emotional condition. Isn't that great? And that's right there in the Word of God. And here we're all running around, all out here, trying to figure it out, and Jesus is like, over here, right here. It's very clear. I'm explicit in things I say. So watch the contrast for this little section. Here's Amnon, bozo. He demanded that his needs get met. I won her, and I took her, and now I feel kind of guilty about it, but interesting expression I heard on the radio. Guys play at love to get sex. Girls play at sex to get love. Now watch the contrast. Bozo demanded his needs to be met. Watch the opposite. Boaz ordered that her needs be met. Oh, I mean, it's just so sweet. It's such a contrast. Now, some of you are out there going, trust me, there are none left in this world. There are none on the planet. They don't exist. There'll be a moment when I have to agree with you about that. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's not true because I know there are. I've been married to one for 22 years. But anyways, and my good friend's dating one right now, so I do know they're out there. And there are some bozos that when they really allow Jesus to become Lord, he takes out the extra O and he puts in an A and transforms them into Boazes. But women, young women and old, need to let God do it. Too many women marry men in the hopes of transforming him from a bozo to a Boaz. The process better already be strongly underway by God because women can change zero. You only aggravate the condition. I don't know how we do that. We just seem to aggravate the condition because you try to be little assistants to God. All right. Not in this group, but, we're more mature. We're not little junior God badge owners. Believe it or not, there's a wonderful scripture, Job 31:1. When I read this, I thought, does such a man exist? Job, in one of his discourses defending his being right with God, he says, I made a covenant with my eyes not to look lustfully on a woman. He made a covenant. He said, these eyeballs will not lust. I just think that's so cool. You should probably ask the next guy you date, have you made a covenant with your eyes? No. Do you know Job 31:1? No, that wouldn't be very nice. Okay, another aspect of the Bozo-Boaz contrast, number 3, a bozo majors on a woman's external qualities. That's his whole emphasis, the external qualities of the woman. Whereas Boaz, I'm going to show you in a minute, majors on the internal qualities. Not that he is not aware of her externals. If he's alive and he has eyes, he's aware. But I'm saying he knows that more importantly is internal. Really neat. I'm going to show you this. You know that wonderful verse in Proverbs 31:30 where it says, charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting? Oh, do we know that part? Beauty is fleeting. Watch your watch. Watch the clock tick. Anyways, I was thinking about the bozos in America should be thanked for the multi-million-dollar industry for cosmetic, physical cosmetics, other different types of augmentation. I mean, all that's going on because all these women are trying to change their... You know what's interesting about the word charm? I thought charm had to do with like manners or how your etiquette. No. In Hebrew, charm means your bodily form. Get this, your bodily form is deceptive. Boy, that's more true than ever in America, right? But what's amazing is why are we so worried about that? Why do we repaint the barn every other week hoping to attract the right farmer? What is the deal with us? I mean, no, don't we do this? And you know what's amazing? If you attract a person solely, now, not that you've ever experienced this, but, okay. If you attract someone solely and you hear him describe you always in external terms, you've got the biggest alarm you've ever heard. If you ever hear a man talking about you he cannot get off the outside, like get a grip. He can't get off it. You're in the presence of a bozo. All right, okay. Now let me tell you why. Do you know that the word lust, we always think of lust as, I want you, and that's true. But in Greek, lust means to set my heart upon. So I spot it and I'll set my heart upon it. Well, listen to this verse. In 1 John 2:16, for everything in the world, this is kind of a strong statement, everything. For everything in the world, the cravings of sinful men, the lust of his eyes, and the boasting of what he has and what he does comes not from the Father, but from the world. Now watch this. Here are these precious godly women who think they're single because something's wrong with them externally. So they work to death, earn all this money so they can change whatever they don't like about them, do all this work. We're constantly working on the outside so that someone can lust even more deeply after us. I mean, isn't this bizarre? There's nothing wrong with being beautiful. There's nothing wrong with staying in shape, working out, all that. I mean, I know that. I'm not putting that down, but that's not all that you are. You're so much more than that. And when a man says something that is on the inside about I love your heart, I love how kind you are, well, there is one left in Florida. like that. Thank you, Jesus. Okay, now watch this. I'm going to prove that this is about Boaz. In the 3rd chapter of Boaz, after she had worked so hard, Ruth had worked so hard, her mother-in-law says, we got to get you a man. Now, mother-in-laws are like that, and mothers are like that, and so am I. But what's interesting is she tells her a plan. And for her, poor Ruth from Moab, I can just see her going, I'm going to do what? I'm going to get all dressed up and put on cologne. And then I'm going to go in where he is laying down after a hard day of threshing, because women are not supposed to go to the threshing floor. And when they pull that little blanket up over himself, I'm supposed to pull the blanket off his feet and lay there. Oh, that'll get a man anytime. Lay at his feet. Well, for some, lay at their feet, but anyways. But listen to this. What's interesting is, what is so sweet about Ruth wanting so much to trust in the God of Israel, that when a godly woman told her something, she's like this, okay, I'm trusting you. So she goes there, but what I love is what he says back to her, because she's going to ask him about, she pulls the cover up and says, spread your cover over us, being our kinsman redeemer. Buy back the land that we're going to lose if you don't buy it back, because legally, because the husbands had died, they need someone to buy the land back. And then take the bride that is over the land, which is Ruth. By the way, you could have me too in the deal. But anyways, what is neat is listen to his response to her. When she went to request it, he says, and now my daughter. And what's important about that phrase, daughter, that's like the reason the word daughter was picked, because between a man and his daughter, there's something there that's so, well, some of us didn't have those kind of daddies. I didn't. But my daughter's got one of those. And it is the most holy, special, precious, affirming, godly thing on the planet. So he refers to her immediately off in the most sweet, holy. You study Song of Solomon, don't study Song of Solomon. But after you get married, no, I'm just kidding. In Song of Solomon, he always calls her like my sister, my friend, my lover. That's like way after. The sister, the friend, all that tender. Now, some of you, when you think of brothers and sisters, you wouldn't think very tender. But my son and my daughter kind of have the sweetest relationship that I think, there's my sister, my friend. Well, anyways, he says, my daughter, and what's interesting, his remark is, don't be afraid. See, being single and not taken care of and not being loved feels so scary. I know it does. I've known enough. And known enough single women to know how scary it can be. But he says, don't be afraid. He said, I will do for you all you ask. Can you imagine finding someone that would say that to you? Any guy? I will do for you all you ask. But this is bigger than you can comprehend, because he says, this is why. Why was she so irresistible to such a godly man? What was it about her that was irresistible? It's the next statement. All my fellow townsmen know that you are a woman of noble character. See, we all have seen your character. We all see how good you've been to your mother-in-law. Trust me, that is a huge feat. And we've all seen how you left your people, and he says, and we know you left your gods. He even said that. He knew that she had come to the God of Israel. And we all know how noble your character is. Now, my question to you is, if I went into the arena where you dwell during the week, how would you be described by the men that work with you? Now, if you're working with a bunch of bozos, I already know how they describe you. Her legs are too heavy. Her hair is too thick. It's all this external. She doesn't have enough of, and my little girl was trying to explain to me what a pervert was the other day, and I'm like, how do you know what a pervert is? He says, it's when a guy only talks about what your body's, how it's shaped. She's in 9th grade. I said, you know what, that is a very accurate rendition of that word. That's what a bozo thinks, Jesse. They only worry about the outside. You wait till you hear someone say about how kind you are, or what a servant's heart you have, or how comfortable I am when I'm with you because you always are so uplifting. He's talking about the inside. You got to listen for those terms, because if a man can see that, he's got God's heart. Because that scripture, in 1 Peter 3:3-4, says, your beauty should not come from outward adornment, such as braided hair and the wearing of gold jewelry and fine clothes. He's not saying there's anything wrong with it, but that can't be the source of my security, is my looks. Why? Instead, it should be that of your inner self. And what's interesting, it says inner self, the unfading beauty. See, if you're walking with Jesus, your inner self is getting better and better with every year. You're getting more beautiful. As the body is deteriorating, the spirit is getting more beautiful. And it's really a bonus from Jesus, because I'm telling you, there's some people who are so beautiful, but if you looked at them physically, they're not physically beautiful, but they're so beautiful because their spirit is so strong that that's what you see. See, that's what we're en route to, most of us anyway, as we grow in Christ. But watch this. The unfading beauty of a gentle, which means secure in Abba. Quiet means not anxious. That used to bum me out when I read that verse. Okay, wait a minute. The unfading beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit. I'm a dead person right there. A quiet spirit. But a girl said to me, Jackie, it says quiet spirit. It doesn't say quiet personality or mouth. Quiet spirit. So it means just not anxious. That I know that my Father he's crazy about me. But anyways, it says a quiet spirit, which is of great worth in God's sight. So that when a man notices your spirit, it's like, it's so cool when a guy notices this in you? It's like the Father looks at you, the Heavenly Father, and He is crazy about you. And then here comes Boaz. He comes up alongside him and goes, she is such a neat person. He goes, yeah, isn't she? She's got such a good heart. And it's like they're having a conversation as they watch you. They spot your heart. And I wrote a thing about that your virtue and your character that's in your life right now, you will attract your heart's companion. So whatever you attract is where you're at. I'm sorry. I know that's a bummer, because we think, wait a minute, if I get a bozo, that means I'm a bimbo? Well, kinda, spiritually. I'm sorry. No, really, because Boaz was, his name in Hebrew means pillar of strength. And a pillar of strength is not going to pick up a bimbette. He's just not going there. He picked up a woman of noble character. That's what he was attracted to. Well, what is interesting also in this passage, a little bonus, these are my little extras that God has given me along the way. A Boaz will ruin a woman's reputation. A bozo, excuse me. Wow! When I was typing this, I kept going B-O-Z-O. It was so easy to write bozo, bozo, bozo. My machine was stuck on it, bozo. And I kept putting the A and putting Boaz. But a bozo will ruin a woman's reputation. Because remember, when Amnon was getting ready to rape Tamar, she said, please don't do this to me. In fact, she even said something that shows how set he was on what he wanted. Because she even said, listen, speak to the king. He'll let you have me. I'll marry you, but don't rape me. Please don't rape me. Please don't rape me. Where will the shame? I'll never ever get rid of my shame. See, a bozo's not worried about your shame or your reputation, what anybody thinks about you. He only cares about one thing, set on course for satisfy my needs. But Boaz is just the opposite. This is so cool. Boaz will protect a good reputation. Let me show you how it does it. In Ruth 3, verses 14 through 15, after she asked if he could be the kinsman redeemer, and he said, I will do whatever you ask, he makes the statement, stay here to just before dawn, and then when you get up, he said, I'll fill your apron so you will not go out empty, but you will leave lest anyone knows that a woman came to the threshing floor. What was he worried about? Worried about her reputation. He could send her out at any point and let her be maybe a little embarrassed. He's constantly thinking about who? Her. When I was trying to decide about my life partner, I was very uncomfortable with my husband at times because he so loved me and he so thought of me all the time. And ironically, because of my terrible background, I was more comfortable with a man using me, taking advantage of me, thinking only of himself and me only serving and living for him, that my husband's constant thoughtfulness and doing things for me, I'll be very honest, I was often little uncomfortable, all right? And someone said to me one time, I said, but I really feel he loves me more than I love him. I told an older godly woman, she said, Jackie, that's one of the most important things in the world. And I said, why? And she said, because God calls a man to do something that's not natural for a man. He calls him to love a woman like Christ loves the church. And if he loves you more than you love him, girl, it's in the bag. This is God's gift. Yes, I got a Boaz! Which I knew he was the whole time, but I was actually uncomfortable with it. And some girls do pick bozos because they're uncomfortable with goodness, because they're so comfortable with abuse. And if you are comfortable with being taken advantage of and being spoken to harshly and being treated rudely, then you need to get help for that. Don't even think about dating anybody. Go get some help. Work through your little issues. Those are private things where you were hurt. You know, Matthew 18 warns about, God forbid, if whoever hurts one of these little ones. A lot of us got wounded when we were little. So that wounding almost makes us uncomfortable with being blessed. And that is why some godly women have picked some real losers, because she still hasn't let God heal her damage, so she believes she deserves a loser. Damaged women always pick bozos because they believe that's the best you can get. I was with a woman who's picked 3, and I said to her, what was it? She said, I didn't think I was ever good enough for a Boaz. Isn't that sad? If you got King Jesus living inside your body, you are qualified. You are a new creature. You're better than it gets. Because Jesus, that's who you are right now. So cool. Now, I want to do something, and this is going to be kind of fast for certain people who take notes. You are going to freak at this point. So you can buy the tape some other day. Okay. I want to go, God gave me a little deeper glimpse at Bozo and Boaz. The more I read Ruth, I was so captivated by this man. So I actually did a little contrast. I'm going to go through them pretty quick. And what is ironic, when I was writing these out, I literally saw all the Bozos I've had. When I read through these qualities of these Bozos, I've got names by all my Bozos this morning. I have names on all, I had a bunch of them, you guys. I'm terrified. Anyways, I'm going to do a contrast. When I do the contrasting statement, when I say Boaz, the quality that he's manifesting is one of the fruits of the Spirit. And the Bozo will manifest the very ambitious work of the flesh on a consistent basis, which we all fight that. We know that from Galatians 5. Number 1, a Bozo is controlled by his emotions. Lust, anger, moodiness, demandingness. You know, he's very controlled by emotions. Now, men don't want to ever admit that they're emotionally controlled because they don't know how to put words with it. They're kind of disconnected from that. But men that are very, like a whim kind of person, like 1 minute he's one way and 1 minute, like he's real angry, all of a sudden you're standing there going, what just happened to him? Did anybody see the change? They put a sign up, he's changing. You know, these are people dominant by, especially when things go wrong. Watch when things go wrong when you're present as a man. Watch how they respond. That'll show what they're controlled by. The opposite, a Boaz is able to control his emotions when things, and I don't mean detached from it. Some women like men that are so controlled, but they don't understand they're so disconnected so that when they get married, they emotionally can't connect. I'm not talking about this. This is someone who gets upset but knows what to do with it. Some men get upset and they use the women they're with to do what they should not do with their anger. Number 2, I'm going quickly. A Bozo is angered when he doesn't get his way. Boy, is that so typical. A Bozo is angered when he doesn't get his way. A Boaz can rise above disappointment. Oh, I forgot to say the first one. The Boaz one where it says he's able to control his emotions, the translation for that is patience. That's the fruit of patience. A Boaz can rise above disappointment. That's both 2 fruits, faith and peace. That means he has faith in a God that's bigger than this great disappointment he just faced. And that God, because he has faith in God, God will give him peace. So when you're upset by something, and you say, Father, by faith right now, I choose to believe you're going to bring good out of this. The minute you say that expression of faith, then God gives you an exchange of peace, where you're just like, you're just freaking out. Then he'll give you peace. And you say, God, by faith right now, I praise you that I'm out here in the middle of nowhere, lost on this dark road. And then he can exchange peace for it. That just happened recently. Number 3, a Bozo, now this is very important, a Bozo doesn't notice the needs of others. He's kind of completely missed it. He can be in a room with a hysterical person and never even know that person's there. Was someone upset? Earth to Joe. Okay. Now, he doesn't even notice the needs of others, and that often kind of causes him to be kind of rude because he's blasting through the line to get what he wants and doesn't notice anybody in front of him. I know you can't relate to that kind of person. Okay. He doesn't notice. Now, see, a Boaz, what did he do right off the bat with Ruth? He's courteous and always noticing the needs of others. He's always aware. Not that he takes care of everybody's needs, because that's that codependent thing. I'm not talking about that. But he's aware. And it manifests itself in the fruit of kindness. He just has a way of going the extra mile, holding a door, moving a seat so she doesn't bang her leg. I mean, you can watch Boazes, how they treat the people they're around. One thing I really appreciate about my brother-in-law right now, who happens to be dating my bestest buddy since 1972, but he's so courteous, not just to her. See, guys can turn it on for you. Remember, they're playing at that love thing so they can get the payoff. They can do it. They can focus only on you. Don't be impressed with that. Watch how he treats the person on the other side of him. And I watch how my brother-in-law honors my girlfriend's mom. He's so honoring to her that I'm like, whoa, I love it. My husband, years ago, when he first got a bonus in this working situation, the first thing he wanted to do was buy my mom a microwave. I said, what are you going to do with that money? He says, I'm going to get your mom a microwave. And see, that's what he's always thinking about other people. I mean, and definitely spoils me, but he has plenty of room to love a lot of people. Okay? So you watch that quality. A bozo is very critical of others. This is such a happy person to be around. A bozo is very critical of others, and he's often very intolerant. Some of us had fathers like that. Very critical. And if you don't let Jesus heal you of that, you will pick one just like that. You don't want one like your father, and you will pick your father until you let Jesus heal that. A Boaz is tolerant of imperfection. And you know why he's tolerant of imperfection? Because he knows who he is. People who are intolerant, they don't know who they really are. Jesus has been tolerating all of us. I mean, when you think about ultimate tolerance, who's the ultimate example of tolerance? Jesus! Look at the group he hangs with. I mean, come on! We're the most inconsistent people around. Get a grip! Okay. And the fruit of the Spirit that goes with this tolerance is love. This is the fruit of the Spirit is love, Boaz. 5, a bozo is self-centered. And he wants it always on his terms. It's almost like if it's not his way, his terms, when he wants it, what moment, we're not in the presence of a very happy camper right now. That's a real warning sign. A Boaz is other-centered. Looking out, this has to do with noticing others again, but it's such an important quality, and it's meekness. See, meekness, everybody always thinks it means like this, wussy thing. No! Meekness means that you're teachable, you're adaptable. You can notice something and go, oh, I probably should move over here. Not go, I'm not moving, I'm standing right here. Don't make me move, That's a bozo. A Boaz is like, oh, did you need me over here? You're going, sure, sweetie, wherever you want to stand. Works for me. I'm glad you even noticed. I mean, I just think that's so sweet. Number 6, a bozo is rigid, and his viewpoint is the only conclusion. Ooh, boy, did I date one of those. And he was a Christian. Let me tell you, all these lists here, 4 out of those 5 were all Christians. There are some men who actually believe that God gave them all insight. They think they're Solomon's descendant. And their way is the only way. And at first you think he's like, wow, boy, does he have conviction and commitment. But if you listen long enough, he's so rigid, if you bang into him, he'll probably break in half, fall apart. And he is rigid, and his viewpoint is the only right conclusion. Now watch the opposite. We're coming back to him again. Good old Boaz. He is teachable, and his heart's open, and so is his mind. Do you know how some people are so close-minded? They're so narrow. They're so, and in Christianity, sometimes we've applauded that narrowness, but let me tell you, a lot of precious people have been broken by such rigidity. Not broken unto growing in Christ, broken unto despair. And what's neat is that's 2 qualities, true fruits. Because to be teachable, you have the meekness quality again. We're back to meekness again. But to be open, you need to be very patient. Because let me tell you, sometimes when someone's talking, you're like this. What do I do? Okay, help me, God, help me, God. And I never realized how much all the time I'm yelling, help me, God, help me, God. That the fruit of the Spirit just wanted me to take a breath, breathe, be patient, give this person, let them finish what they're saying. You'll probably click with them if you give them a chance. Be more compassionate. Of course, we're all champions of that. Number 7, a bozo always has excuses for not doing a task well. And what's scary about a man who always has excuses for what he didn't do, or why he didn't finish it, or why he didn't, accomplish what he said he'd do, if you marry a man like that, you become part of the excuse team. And then the wife's on the phone making the excuses. The children grow up watching that mom is the excuse giver. So then you become an excuse giver for them too. So no one ever is accountable for the way they live. They always want sympathy. Boy, I almost went somewhere with that statement. Okay. Always make excuses for not doing a task well. Now watch Boaz. A Boaz strives to do his work. Now watch where he's realistic. He strives to do it to the best of his ability and to the glory of Jesus. See, there's some men that do things to the best of their ability to the glory of themselves. I mean, everything they do is to make more lights on them, more attention on them, more applause for them. It's so refreshing to be around a gifted man who is humble about the gift that God's trusted him with. And he never, like, oh, I just realized I've got to, sorry, using my son again. The other day I asked Ben if he had told someone about his SAT score, and he goes, no, I didn't tell anybody about it. And I said, why? He said, well, a lot of people were saying what they got first, so I didn't want to make them feel bad. So I just said, well, I did pretty good. And they're like, come on, Ben, tell us. No, I did good. And be quiet. And I just thought, he was deferring to the feelings of everybody around him when they got their scores back. See, that's what you will look for in a man. Sorry, he's not available. He's only 17 and a half. So many of my single friends used to say, could we just get him kind of in one of those bubbles and like we could save him? Then we'll do a lottery and then we're going to toss for him and then one of us is going to get him, you know. But that's because he's had a Boaz as a dad. And he watched how a man treats a woman. I mean, he's walking it out right now. When I watch him, I think, thank you, God, for a lead man in my house who lived what my son could reflect. That's why there's so many bozos out there. Those poor guys. And don't feel sorry for him. Start dating that mercy dating. Don't go there. That's what Christian women do, that mercy dating. Oh, I feel so sorry for him. I'll go out with him again. Don't do mercy dating. Invite him to church. Pray for him. Don't mercy date. Too much of that stuff going on out there. Don't do that. Don't go there. That's that female thing. Woo! Okay. One thing about the thing where I said that Boaz strives to do his work to the best of his ability, that's that faithfulness fruit, the fruit of faithfulness. And the last one, there's so many, I just only did 8. 8, a bozo lacks integrity. That's like a giveaway, we know that. Lacks integrity and good character. And what's interesting about Boaz throughout the whole book of Ruth, his integrity, you know, like some people say, oh, he's a man of such integrity. I said, but he's not real nice about it. So to me, if you've got real good character and you're a man of integrity, you can be kind. You can be merciful. You can be gentle. You know, the body of Christ is always saying, oh, he's a man of such integrity. Have you ever seen how he treats his wife? You know, I mean, be careful about throwing that word around. You watch how a man treats a woman, and you're in the presence of evaluating if he knows anything about what Jesus asked. God very clearly said in Ephesians 5 exactly how a man should treat a woman. And he's supposed to die for her. And any man not willing to die for a woman, he ain't worth, he's a bozo. Do you know that God put Adam to sleep? And the word sleep, when he knocked him out, means to anesthetize. And we all know about any true anesthesia. There's a moment like almost unto death when you go under. Any man that can love a woman as God wants will have to die. He has to be comfortable with dying. Boaz said a very interesting phrase to Ruth at the threshing floor. We're almost done. He said this. He said, I would like to be the kinsman redeemer, but I believe there's one closer and more qualified. He said, but I will check, and if he can't do it, I'll be glad to do it. But his emphasis was, we're going to take care of you. Whichever one, you're going to be fine. Rather than, man, I hope it's me. You know, I mean, there's nothing of himself in that. It was like, I'll make sure you get taken care of. In fact, when she told Naomi what he said, she said, now be still. The man will not rest until he's taken care of us. I mean, and what happens with women, unfortunately, young and old, we do this manipulating thing where we want to kind of work this thing out, and we'll become a little too aggressive because we're so afraid if we're not aggressive, he is never going to move. You don't do that. If he is a man of integrity, he knows how to put one foot in front of the other, open his mouth. Okay, let him show his true self. Bozos. Okay, and at point 5, I'd just like to end with this section. Okay, This to me, and I know this is really harsh, these little 4 things I'm going to say about him. Not that I haven't been kind of ragging on him the whole time, but I see a contrast between Bozo and Boaz in the 4th chapter of the book of Ruth that's so profound. It's so neat. If you choose a Bozo, this is the consolation prize. I'm listing 4 things. I'm sure that you could volunteer a few more things that come with Bozos, especially those who've had them. But these are just some of the common things a woman will get. This is her consolation prize, because I call it a consolation because she does not get the grand prize winner in Boaz. And I'll show you about what comes with him. You would think he was enough. That's just the beginning of what comes with Boaz. For the Bozo, you can get shame, because once you marry him, you can kind of cover up for his behavior to an extent, but then there's a point where you can't cover anymore, and what he does is what you are. And there's a lot of shame in that. I know women who have tap danced to make sure that no one finds out that they live with a loser, but you get found out. I'm sorry. Even if it's by your own children, saying, I don't know why you let him treat you like that. Another one you get, number 2, is insecurity. And let me tell you one thing about insecurity that is so scary to me. Okay, this is a very strong statement, and not that I don't always talk that way, but this one is like huge. This is out there. Some of you are going to be like, I can't believe she said that. A man who exploits you sexually when you are dating, you have no basis of security once you marry him. Because a man who cannot control himself when he's dating you, you assume because when he's married then he can have all he wants, that will change. No, a lack of self-control sexually in a man's life does not change with marriage. The only thing that changes is the word. Before marriage, it's called fornication. After marriage, it's called adultery. So the next time you ever consider fooling around with someone, you are setting up the very basis for your husband to fail you when you marry him. See, all these Christian women are really struggling with staying pure. They don't even understand. See, the wicked one wants you to fall for this. But we were going to get married. I have never met one woman whose husband, now if you are here and this happened to you, write it on the card, tell me, because I've never met one yet. I've never met one woman whose husband was unfaithful, who didn't fool around before they got married. How a man controls himself premarital is what he tells you about himself extramaritally. Get it? Got it? It's very serious. When I was dating my husband, my roommate thought he was gay because he was so straight. How do you know he's not gay? How do you know you're not? Maybe he's got a sexual problem because he was so straight. Because all the other guys are hitting on you so much, you're fighting yourself off all the time. And here's a Christian guy that wouldn't even touch me. And I'm like, hello. And she said, I don't know if that's normal. That's kind of sick. That's weird. It's called propriety and respect for me. But see, this is Christians. I mean, we completely confuse each other on a regular basis. It's amazing to me. But anyways, what's so amazing is that God knew how much I had to have a man like that. Now, every woman wants a man that she can be secure in how he handles himself in the presence of other more attractive women, or more vulnerable and more ready to, okay? God knew that, but from my background and wounding, I really needed someone. Because even in the goodness of all that, I have so much garbage that still could scare me, and thank God I have, the truth in front of me constantly. This is another one I want to show you about. Number 3, a bozo is not capable of commitment. Lack of commitment. This is whether you're dating them or married to them, they are not capable of commitment. And you know why they can't commit? Because they're so selfish. Because they're so afraid they might have to give something up if they're going to love you. He's just shown his heart. And another scary thing about why he can't commit, this is horrible, but a guy said this to me one time, and he's been single a long time, and he said, well, I'm always wondering a better one will come along. You know what men do nowadays? They marry you, and then when a better one, they just toss it. New model this year, new model, high mileage, new model, new low mileage. They're tossing us left and right. Christians are doing this. This is not novel. Christians are doing this. Okay, and the last one, you often get this if you'll marry him, the consolation prize is you will end up in divorce. Unless you're so worried about what people think that you'll live out the rest of your life in insanity because of what everyone thinks rather than face the incredible insanity that you live with. I know God can change Bozos into Boazes. I have seen a few But I'd rather wait a lifetime and be alone than live with them. Because I know a lot who live with them, and it is hell on earth. It's unbelievable what women go through with bozos. It's horrible. Because they were looking at their watch and, it's 27:15. I can't do this. I can't do this. Okay, and the grand prize winner of Boaz. Now, I used to always think, well, of course the prize is that he protected her physically, emotionally, protected her. He provided for her. That to me was good enough about Boaz. And then I found out something about his mom, and I about croaked. This is so cool. Ruth, okay, now, to be the kinsman redeemer, he had to go to the city gates, and he had to go through, it's not a ritual, but he had to bid for the land and for Ruth and the mother-in-law. And then he had the one that said, okay, I'll give you the privilege. They take the sandal off. But what was interesting is once all the witnesses said it, they do this blessing on him. And they talk about, may God bless the woman he's bringing to you. And he said, and may you end up have a man of standing and be famous. They're doing this it's a prophecy on Boaz. Well, what's really neat is, I always thought, I can't believe here is Ruth, a Moabite, and she gets this classic. And see, the whole time that I admired my husband and prayed, God, I want one like that. God, I want one like him. I want one like him. I mean, I'd walk behind him when he was dating other people at college because they were taking him back to the dorms. I'd be going, I want one like that. I want one like that, Father. Father God, I want one like that. I'll wait forever. I want one like that. Well, I didn't know I was going to get him. The reason I assumed I couldn't get him is because I have such a bad background and he is so straight that I figured the straight Boaz and the Ruth. And when I began to think, when I read this, I thought, there are probabilities, not with him, but I meant maybe a real straight good guy would marry someone from my bad background. Well, what I didn't realize is in Matthew 1:5, it describes who Boaz's mom was. And it says, Salome, the father of Boaz, whose mother was Rahab. The first woman that ever loved Boaz was a woman who had converted from being from a heathen Canaanite nation, to the God of Israel. So the first woman that ever loved him was a woman who had not lived a great and perfect life, but had chosen the God of Israel, which prepared Boaz to love someone who was not from a good background in a country of many horrible gods that they worshipped over there, that he could love someone. And my husband's mom got saved the same year I got saved, and she has a rowdy pre-Christ life. I have a rowdy pre-Christ life, but he saw how magnificently God changed her and could believe that God could change me. See, God prepared it. So, see, this thing is so much more complicated than you realize. That's why you must trust Abba, Father. You must have faith in Jesus that if he gave you the best, it says in Romans 8:32, if God spared not his only son, how much more will he give us all things freely with him? So from Jesus, it's not down, it's up. And he only has the best for you. He even knows what is in your background that hurts you, that you have to have some compassion and maybe a little patience in certain areas that other men would be going, out of here, out, where your Boaz would be more patient and adapting to God working in your life. But there's another bonus that I did not know about till years later realized, of course, another part of the grand prize winner is you not only got the prepared partner, that's what I call it, you've got a prepared partner in Boaz, but you produce a godly seed. See, it's not enough just marrying the right man. You have to understand that in God's sovereignty and God's foreknowledge, he knew what to get together to produce. You know, it's no accident who produced Billy Graham, okay? Or Franklin, his son. See, that's no accident. And God in his sovereignty knows. And Boaz and Ruth gets together, and they give birth to Obed, who's the father of Jesse, who's the father of King David. And here is a Moabite with old Rahab, the harlot mother-in-law, who are in the lineage of David, in the very lineage that Jesus comes from. I mean, it's huger than you could comprehend. You don't understand. God knows what he longs to produce even from your own womb, and who you get together with. It's not a matter of, oh, do you ever regret that you married someone? No, because I know I would never have the children I have if I didn't have Ken. You know, there's no doubt in my mind that what I have is because of who I married. So, I mean, it's huge. So, always think, oh, I think he's cute, he makes enough money, he can support his... You know, it's all this superficial stuff like, hello! Don't you know there's so much more to you? So much more to the details of you as a young woman, older, it doesn't matter where you're at, there's so many details about you that only a very brilliant, wise God could bring this about. That's why you have to trust him. And I thought about, after I got this all done, I had a thought, and I thought, oh, Father, I did say at the beginning that we attract where we're at. And some of you right now, spiritually, if let's say I did a one-on-one with you and just said, tell me about where you're at spiritually. How do you feel about, are you closer to Jesus now than you were 6 months ago? I'm like, is he really Lord of your life? Are you really trusting him with your life daily? Are you letting him heal those childhood hurts? The things that wounded your heart as a little girl years? Are you letting Jesus change that? Because the reason you have to be a part of God's new creature program, which he talks about in 2 Corinthians 5:17. In fact, to be honest, on many of those dateless nights, I thought, this must be another portion of that new creature program, that he's changing me and I'm not ready to love someone yet. And every time my clothes went out my room to all the banquets, and I press my dresses and loan them to people to go to things, and I think, and I'd watch my husband taking another one of the girls from my dorm on another date, and I'd think, okay, make me what you've dreamed for me when you were on that cross and you spread your arms so you could hold me the rest of my life. I want a man that loves you the way I do. And the neatest thing, when my husband and I started dating, the thing he told me that knocked me out, and I want to close with these statements, is this. My husband dated a lot of Christian girls. In fact, one girl that he asked out, I was very upset because I overheard a comment she made in our dorm, and I thought, oh no, she's a loser. She's a bimbette. I know she is. And I was so upset. And when I saw his brother, I said, where's Ken tonight? And he goes, well, he's out with that girl, and his face lights up, the typical external stuff. You kind of, oh no, but you're supposed to be this Christian. Your mouth speaks from what your heart's full of. And I heard something in the dorm that I'm like, oh, wow. Let me tell you, that face, just keep your mouth closed. You'll be all right. But you open your mouth, you're going to kill yourself off because your heart's killing your face. Well, when my husband and I finally started dating, I had asked him about when he went out with her. I said, can I just ask you about somebody? Because that night I really prayed, Lord, please, I used to call him Brother Ken because he used to be our youth pastor. I said, Father, please show Brother Ken that she's a bimbette. May she right off the bat open her mouth. And he told me, we were out to dinner one night, and I said to him, hey, I want to ask you about so-and-so. I really prayed for you that night. He said, you did? Why'd you pray? I said, well, Ken, I knew some things about her that I knew you didn't know. Guys are like, they don't. They think, oh, she's so nice. She seems nice. She seems pretty. They always use the word seems. Seems, not sure yet, seems. I said, I prayed that God would open your eyes. He said, we weren't 5 minutes into dinner when she said something. I thought, oh no, I don't want one of those. Because he knows your mouth shows what your heart's full of. And the minute he heard, he thought, no, not for me. And he chose me because he knew my heart. And he said, Jackie, out of everybody I ever dated, I would walk them home or drive them home thinking, wow, none of them love Jesus like Jackie does. And that's what caused him to choose me, was my heart. And he says, well, it's not because you needed a bag over your head and you weren't that good looking, Jackie. That's fine, but your heart was irresistible. So that's how to avoid a bozo. Let Jesus be Lord of your heart, Lord of your life, and you won't pick a loser. Because you'll refuse to settle for less than the best for a daughter of the King who Jesus is crazy about. Thank you. Thank you.